So here we are, once again. Ty Nichols, another black man who was killed by the police, and in this case, a particularly horrid fashion. Another innocent person killed by police brutality that is still fundamentally going unaddressed in the United States. Now, if you're one of the few people in the Western world who hasn't heard about this yet, Ty Nichols was a man who was given a traffic stop. And what proceeded was a beating by 5 police officers for 3 minutes. The video of that beating has been made public, and it is frankly horrific. A man handcuffed, face down on the ground, being repeatedly kicked in the head and being beaten with a baton. Those police officers who committed this crime ended up killing that young man. Shelby County Sheriff's Office online records show that Tadarius Bean, Demetrius Haley, Desmond Mills Jr., Emmett Martin, and Justin Smith were all in custody. The police who attacked this young man and killed him. All 5 are charged with second-degree murder, aggravated assault, aggravated kidnapping, official misconduct, and official oppression. The young man died in the hospital 3 days later from a simple traffic stop. Now, in Memphis, in Tennessee, second-degree murder is punishable by 15 to 60 years in prison, depending on the individual case. That's something that's left up to the discretion of the judge to decide how much time each individual perpetrator who has been convicted of this crime is going to serve. And it's a perfect example of how nothing has changed. So many people walked around with this gleam in their eye, like now that Biden was in office, all of it was going to change. Finally, we're going to start holding the police accountable for what they do. And these particular police are being held accountable. But I couldn't help but notice that these things are still going on. These police killings are still occurring on a near daily basis. Nothing has been addressed. You can punish the perpetrator all you want, but the problem is that this happens to begin with. There has been no fundamental reform in policing, and that is why this continues. And it has been noted by, I'm sure, every right-wing commentator in the Western world that all the police officers who did this were black. So therefore the police aren't racist. Well, Obama's the president, so therefore the Ku Klux Klan doesn't exist. Or how can America be racist because it had a black president? It's the same kind of complete logical fallacy. It doesn't make any sense. Or is this how America builds back better? To exactly what it was before? That's another issue here altogether. Nothing's changed. This is still the same America. The border wall hasn't come down, and that was one of the most contentious issues Democrats had. I think there's a very serious lesson to be learned here, that apparently in the last, how many centuries the United States has been around, that nothing has changed. Nothing changes when you vote for the same 2 parties funded by the same 2 people. Even when they said, oh, we're going to stop domestic drilling from destroying the environment, and Biden has signed away new drilling rights, it doesn't change. I mean, how blind do you have to be at this point to not see that? You should have completely learned your lesson after Obama. But they didn't. Should have learned it decades, if not centuries before that. They're not getting it through their heads that it's not the man, it's the system. You replace the president with anyone, and the system will continue to function the same way. And if you try to deviate from that in any meaningful way, that person will be eliminated, one way or another. And that's what people aren't getting through their heads. This is what a lot of even American leftists are saying, are not getting. You are not going to change anything by voting for a Democrat. I once got into an argument with somebody because I posted a meme of Andrew Yang, and he was holding up a dollar bill and said to the proletariat, "I'm going to pay you $2,000 a month to F off." You know, essentially that's what it would be. Essentially a bribe to stop caring. And somebody responded, "Oh, it'd be nice to not have to die from a lack of health care." To which I replied, it'd be nice that as someone who's supposed to be a Marxist, who's supposed to be advocating the overthrow of an unjust system, you actually did that. That is what they're not understanding. First worldists are begging for concessions from the capitalist class. See, this is something Bob Avakian gets right, that the majority of leftists in America get wrong. Revolution, nothing less. Because that's the correct position to take. It never ceases for me to get dumped on for being a third worldist, for acknowledging that revolutionary potential in the first world is virtually non-existent. Virtually. There, of course, are pockets of resistance that would be capable of it, but are they of a significant enough number? Frankly, they're not. And that's why the position of third worldists has been resistance in the first world, revolution in the third. This is a prime example of all of that. This is why New Africa is needed. This system is not going to reform. Right? This is such an old, tired argument at this point. It so should have been solved a long time ago. Lenin wrote about it. Mao wrote about it. Marx wrote about it, explained how the system is not going to be nice to you. You're not going to get a peaceful transition to socialism. It's not going to happen. It doesn't happen. And no, Venezuela's social democracy, which is being pounded into the ground by U.S. sanctions, doesn't count. If anything, that reinforces the fact that you have to overthrow the system. And once again, we see nothing but liberals who are passing themselves off as leftists, making the same apology over and over again. Oh, yeah, but this time it's going to work. Oh, yeah, but something, 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 slow change, something, something, build back better, something, something, blue no matter who, or whatever kind of nonsense. Let's be honest about the United States. It is far more likely to descend into a racial civil war than it is to ever have a Marxist revolution. And I think that's fairly obvious to anybody who has even a modicum of honesty. Because a lot of this stands from groups who just don't want to see the truth. Resistance is the correct path. But we're not seeing a Marxist revolution in the Western world for a very, very, very long time. And no, doing the same thing over and over again with no success does not count as laying the base for it. If you haven't noticed, it's been over a century and it hasn't worked. You would at this point have to at least acknowledge that what you have been doing doesn't work and that a new strategy would be needed. That's a very minimal baseline thing to accept. That what has been done does not work and something else is needed. Now you could even reject third worldism and still understand this point. But the people don't want to do that. At the very least, could there be some kind of serious reaction to police killings. We used to have them. BLM used to take it to town when this happened. But the movement, since it got co-opted by the Democrats, since it got co-opted by George Soros and the like, well, let's just say it's pretty toothless now. And I'm sorry, that's not one white person's opinion. That's an objective fact, regardless of what my skin color is. And here's the lesson that we should be learning. Stop selling out to the goddamn Democrats. They're not going to do anything for you. They have never done anything for you. Get it through your head. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.